Welcome to the We Heal for All podcast, emotional and spiritual support for those who feel the world deeply and want to be part of her change. I'm Liz Moyer Benferhat, collective healing practitioner and founder of We Heal for All. With nearly 20 years in the sustainable development field, I know how much heart goes into caring about our world, which is why in each of these episodes, and in the work that I do more generally, I share tools, perspectives, and conversations that support you to be in a healthier relationship with the world's pain, so you can participate in your own healing process, healing of society, and finding a way, collectively, to move forward so we can give birth to a better world. In today's episode, I explore the often unspoken phenomenon of how our own personal pain can get caught up in and mixed up with the world's pain, the political breakdown and suffering that we see in the world, and how all of that can turn into something louder and harder to navigate. I share some helpful frameworks for how to think about it, as well as practices and tools that help untangle those threads so you can have more choice and skill in working with them. This topic of how the personal and collective can get entangled is my theme this month. Next week, I'll share a guided meditation practice as part of my paid subscription, and the week after that, I'll share a conversation with a trusted friend and somebody who I think is, I don't want to use the word expert, but just someone who has a lot of knowledge and insight to share on this topic in order to go deeper. You can get these directly in your inbox by subscribing to my Substack. And if you're looking for community space to practice these tools in, I have 2 online circles coming up this month. One on Sunday, March 8th, and another on Sunday, March 22nd, both at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. These are support group style community space to process what's going on and co-create wisdom around what's next. A link to join is in the show notes. You can also find my latest book, When the World Hurts, available on Kindle for free for the next month. So if you wanted to check it out and go deeper on these topics around collective wounds and the world's pain, you can do so there. All right, enough of this. Let's dive in when personal pain meets political heat. As a kid, I have memories of sitting in the car while it was raining, head propped up against the door, watching the raindrops move across the window pane. It always fascinated me how they moved. Beads of water dotted the window, slowly gathering and building. A small droplet would shimmy its way down until it met another small one, merging and becoming something else, something bigger. Quickening its pace, it slid down the glass more easily, gathering others as it went until it became one big, heavy droplet, carrying them all. What began as separate dots, each with their own shape and path, turned into these mega streaks. This dance of merging, the way water moves and interacts with itself, has become a cornerstone for how I think about emotions. Shapeshifty, fluid, and so easily able to coalesce and build, to start as one thing and morph into another. This is true for emotions in general, and it's particularly true for navigating the world's pain. The suffering and the breakdown in the world stirs emotional energy that's rarely just one thing. Often what overwhelms us these days is not just one feeling. It's not just stress from our own lives, and it's not just heartbreak and outrage about the world. It's often multiple layers of pain compounding on each other at once. Personal pain, collective pain, current stress, older wounds, all merging together until the whole thing runs away from us, becoming harder to name and navigate. For those of us who truly feel the weight of the world right now, this can create an emotional fog, a cacophony of noise. It's loud, and we know it means something, but we can't always tell what's happening within us, so we can't give ourselves what we need. I know this experience well. There was a breaking point in my own healing journey that stopped me in my activist tracks. It showed me just how much the pain of the world fused with my own personal wounds to create a whirlwind of confusion and overwhelm, leaving me unable to respond in the way that I truly wanted to. Not long after a silent meditation retreat, where a tender childhood wound showed itself to me, I found myself facing the 2016 elections. I had just come into contact with something raw and old within myself. This personal wound was fresh in my system, finally ready to be seen and understood. A week later, the election took place, and as the results rolled in, that raw space in my heart shook even further and was ripped open even more deeply. In the days and weeks that followed, my anger and hurt consumed me. It was as if I was tapped into multiple pain bodies at the same time, all of them overcoupling and overlaying with each other. There was the pain in my own body, related to my personal history that had just become more clear. There was the pain in my country's body, related to our shared history and the chasm that had just grown. And there was the pain in the global body, due to our shared realities of injustice and oppression. I didn't have language for it at the time, but I was experiencing a collapse of boundaries between personal and collective wounds. I couldn't tell where one ended and the next began. Was I devastated because of what this meant for my country? Yeah, absolutely. Was I also reeling because it echoed patterns of injustice and powerlessness from my own life? Yeah. To me, Trump represented everything I had been fighting against for years. The casual violence against women, the marginalization of quote-unquote others, and the glorification of domination and control. Looking back, I can see that this was a turning point for me and how I understood myself and my relationship with the world. I realized the pain in me and the pain I was feeling from the world were completely tangled up with each other. There were no clear lines. I couldn't differentiate between the two, and like raindrops on a window pane, they turned into something else and ran away from me. Over many years of exploring this phenomena, of how our internal worlds are affected by what's happening out in the world, I began to develop this understanding of the collective pain that's held in society through the lens of collective wounds. Some of what we carry about the world is our own stress and distress. But some of it also lives beyond us and belongs to the larger bodies we're all part of. Our families, our communities, nations, society. Collective wounds, as I've come to think of them, are the unresolved pain held in those larger bodies, formed from histories and shared experiences of things like injustice and violence, chaos, loss. We each feel and interact with these collective wounds differently. Our own personal histories, sensitivities, and places within society shape that. But regardless, these collective wounds affect how we experience the world and affect how we perceive what's happening in it. So when something painful happens, we're not just reacting to the current event alone in a vacuum. We're also often tapping into older pain held in the larger field around us. And when that pain meets places in us that are already tender or burdened, then that intensity can quickly build. The loudness of it all can sometimes be because collective wounds are echoing pain we know intimately or are carrying actively from our personal lives. For instance, if you experienced abuse as a young child, police brutality or inhumane prison conditions might stir feelings of being unsafe, overpowered, or neglected. Or if, for instance, you had a domineering parent, figures like Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin might take you back to those experiences in childhood. Another one, a forest fire halfway across the world can bring up your own buried experiences with catastrophic loss. Or even the frenzied pace of the 24/7 news cycle might amplify the overwhelm that's already present for you every day in your high-pressure job. This doesn't mean that your feelings about the world aren't real or politically meaningful. Quite the opposite. Oftentimes, the reasons why we're called to stand up for certain issues has everything to do with our own personal ties to them, to the way they reverberate against pain that we know so well. There's something inspiring and empowering within this. Once we begin to recognize that what we're feeling about the world has layers to it, then we can act more skillfully. We can start to untangle those layers, personal wounds versus collective wounds, understand them better, and then listen for their deeper needs. This becomes especially important in these charged times that we live in as it relates to politics. We are living in a time when collective wounds are highly activated in our shared consciousness across societies. Political engagement, especially online, is at an all-time high. We are up close and personal with the world's suffering in a way no people before us have been. Our psyches are, of course, naturally shaped by it. In this environment, in these circumstances, it can be hard to notice when your own impassioned feelings towards a political issue may be also serving as an outlet for a deeper personal wound. When the heat of politics is giving a part of you somewhere to go with its pain, because it doesn't yet know where else to put it. There's no judgment in this, truly. It's simply part of the new reality that we're living in. This new reality of having such close proximity to the world's pain. Therefore, there's an invitation and also a need to have a greater awareness of this, so you can have more choice and ultimately greater health within it all. When you're emotionally activated by what's happening in the world, one place to start is to simply acknowledge that what you might be feeling right now may be more than what you think. You can practice slowing yourself down, coming into your body, grounding yourself into your feet, into your sit bones, and creating a little space between your observing self and what you're feeling. From there, with a whole lot of gentleness, and knowing it's not always easy, you can try to start identifying which parts of your experience might be connected to the collective and what parts might be connected to something personal. Even slightly uncoupling the current event from what's personal to you can help you work with those threads more skillfully. This practice can also just ultimately help you know yourself better. It can help you see more clearly what works for you and what doesn't when it comes to taking in the world. For instance, the other night when my husband brings up the latest Epstein files related to Trump right before going to bed, I am spinning out more easily, not able to sleep. This makes sense, right? If I'm already depleted, in this case tired, it's 11 p.m., the end of my day, then the world's pain is more likely to run me down. My capacity to be with the intensity of it all is more limited. This doesn't mean that I'm failing or doing something wrong. It means I'm just deeply human. And it means that the water droplets of emotional energy are merging together in a way that have just become too much. We can't always be well-resourced. It just isn't the way that life works. But when we're aware of where we are in a given moment, we gain context for how the world is affecting us. We gain choice about how and when to engage, like not right before bed for me. For those of us who care deeply, my fellow helpers and healers and change makers, people who want to be of service these days, want to be part of moving forward, this awareness matters. Because overwhelm is not always a sign that you care too much. And it's not a sign that you're too fragile or too weak for the times in some way. Oftentimes, it simply means that more than one layer of pain is activated and alive in you at once. Once you start to see that and play with that and understand that a bit more, then you can meet yourself with more grace, more compassion. You can turn inward and look at what you're feeling and just sigh with some relief. This makes sense. And from there, little by little, you can begin to relate to the world's pain with more discernment. To stay present with what's going on without completely being swept away by every merged and heavy raindrop running down your window pane. Let me know what you think. Thank you to you and your heart and for being here. If you enjoyed this episode and received from it, send it to a friend and use it as a way to build community and connection that this world deeply needs right now. Subscribe to tune in each week for more tools, conversations, and support on collective healing. And check out my latest book, When the World Hurts, upcoming circles, and online courses to go deeper. Sending you love from the Bronx. Take care.